As much as I love Cyberpunk, there are quite a few things that feel underdeveloped or just plain missing. When you create a game like this, you're not just trying to outdo your own previous work, aka The Witcher, you're also going up against the likes of Elder Scrolls, Assassin's Creed or Red Dead. Without the expansive crafting system of The Witcher 3, the multiple worlds of No Man's Sky, or the endless side activities in something like GTA, what is it that actually carries Cyberpunk? Did it even need to be an open world RPG, or should it have stuck to being something a bit more simple? The answer, I think, is in two main elements of the game that it basically nails. I'll get to them over the course of the video, but first let's take a look at some of the key open world or RPG elements that Cyberpunk is missing, because that will give us an idea of the void that it needs to fill with something else.
Just eat the free pizza and then we're out of here, okay?
Here's a hot take though before we get started. Straight away I think that the open world RPG is best suited to the fantasy genre. That's just my personal preference. I'm more at home swinging swords in Skyrim than say racing around an island in Far Cry. But I think that some of the open world RPG elements are more relevant to the fantasy genre anyway. It makes more sense to me to be scavenging for ingredients, to make potions or figure out magic, mining raw materials as part of an in-depth crafting system to forge primitive style war gear like swords and armour. All of this adds to a survival element, a feeling that you are weak and hopeless at the start of your adventure, but gradually learn the ropes and build on your skills to get stronger, eventually turning into a badass. Fallout is the exception to what I've said there. I wouldn't really call that fantasy per se, but there's definitely a huge survival element to it. But Fallout falls into the same trap as Cyberpunk, in that ammo and weapons are so numerous and easily accessible that some of the work is done for you. Guns and resources fly into your inventory faster than you can fire bullets, and this brings limited value if the guns are just minor variations of the same group of base models. Yes, you can craft new weapons, but the crafting in Cyberpunk doesn't really seem entirely relevant either, because the components you need are also just generic types that stack into just 4 or 5 tiers. Not only that, they are always found in convenient boxes for you to just mash a button and pick up. You never really care what it is you're collecting. You know it would just be filed away neatly into the right area of your inventory ready for you to use whenever you need to. Without a proper system of breaking items down to their raw materials, to then build them back up, or scavenging for new materials to test out different combinations and managing an inventory, it all just feels a little bit empty and lackluster. This also affects the sense of survival. There's no requirement to engage your brain and think, what specific items do I need to go out and find or keep an eye out for? What is it that I need to craft next that is really going to help me survive? Cyberpunk mitigates this by presenting combat as a Halo or Doom style fast-paced looter-shooter, where you don't really need to worry about ammo or having to work too hard to find cool new stuff. While this is great fun and never really gets old, I think it feels kind of out of place in an open-world RPG, where gathering resources is normally a core activity that makes up a big part of overall gameplay. But what about the open world element too? Good open worlds need plenty of side activities to help build the environment and make it feel like a real dynamic place, and also keep the player entertained. Sure, in addition to brain dances, Cyberpunk has side jobs, races, the generic fist-fighting tournaments, and a funny little nod to The Witcher in the form of an arcade minigame with a horse called Roach. But there's no side activity like Gwent that requires you to collect items over a longer term period, enter tournaments and try to win better versions. There's also not a huge variety of vehicle types like in GTA that allows you to go off on a rampage and just mess about. Finding the tarot cards is okay, I guess, but a little bit pointless again. There's no substance. Wouldn't it be awesome if instead of graffiti, these were actual cards that you could collect like Gwent, where you could accumulate them in a deck to then unlock some kind of additional minigame to play? I guess what I'm saying with all this is that Cyberpunk shouldn't really work given the gaps that it has that other games do so well.
Okay.
So what does it do to make up for it? And is this enough to justify its existence as an open world RPG?
Can I offer you anything? A drink?
Well, the first of the two things is the way the sense of realism is developed through world interaction. The game allows you to really get into V's shoes through subtle behaviours. In other words, as cringy as it sounds, Cyberpunk takes the role-playing element literally. You're meant to almost act like you really are in Night City, and do the kinds of things that someone would actually do there. Dialogue cutscenes are not just static. You can put V into different positions, like leaning on a rail or sitting down and drinking a beer. In your downtime, you can find your own little bits of entertainment in order to roleplay as V, going to one of your apartments and chilling out, doing various things like playing the guitar, watching TV or lighting incense. I appreciate that there is absolutely no skill involved in this. It's not even really gameplay, and it's a bold move from the developers to rely on this to engage players. It's why I imagine some people are put off by, say, Kingdom Come Deliverance, which required you to actually eat and sleep on time, or the character Henry would drop dead like a Tamagotchi. But this level of detail really works for me. You can live life how V would, going out and getting some food, stopping by a bar or restaurant for a drink, phoning up a friend for a chat. It helps with character and relationship development, not just world building. When it comes to things like romance, your partner can take part in these little activities as well. And all of this adds to that sense of realism and immersion. Of course, this level of role-playing only works if the story, characters and writing in the game are good enough to actually give it purpose and make you want to do these things. And this leads me into the second element that SAVE Cyberpunk. CD Projekt Red have a knack for not only creating fantastic main stories that you can get emotionally invested in, but fleshing out their side missions to give them their own individual identities that are almost of the same quality. In fact, in some cases even surpassing the quality of the main plot. I mentioned romance just a second ago, but the side quests are also great, from the vendettas certain characters rope you into helping them settle, to the ludicrous but somehow poignant mission where you save a bunch of AI-controlled Delamain cabs whose drivers have been hacked, turning them into murderous or suicidal maniacs. All of these things are written so well that you can't help but get sucked in. The fact I actually cared about saving a car from driving itself off a cliff is testament to how well the world of Cyberpunk is brought to life through the writing and the events that you discover along the way. These things are all enhanced by the music, which is great when driving around, but is at its best in my opinion when the radio cuts out during the key story beats. It does it at all the right moments to really elevate the emotional drive of the scene and let the excellent writing and characters shine through. In terms of characters, I find them all very well written and performed. I find it hard to choose a favourite, although the voice actor who plays the male V does annoy me at times. I also had my doubts about Keanu Reeves being involved, especially taking such a big part. Did this role really have to go to an A-list Hollywood celebrity when there's probably thousands of other aspiring actors that could have done it justice too? But to be honest, I've been one round. Johnny Silverhand is awesome, and while Keanu Reeves doesn't have the emotional depth to pull off some of the more challenging or complex lines, his dry, consistently monotone delivery suits the character really well.
On behalf of the staff of the Independent California Motel, I wish you all sweet dreams.
Are these things enough to carry an entire game? Are they enough to justify Cyberpunk being an open-world RPG? I think the answer is yes. I can see why people perhaps don't like the game or feel that it did enough to redeem itself from the mess of its launch. It's definitely not perfect. It doesn't have the limitless sense of discovery like Skyrim, the endless side activities of GTA, or even the expansive crafting system of The Witcher. But its subtle realism and the excellent writing and world building work together to create an experience that I'll be playing for a long time.